big long scratch started going down her arm, and it started bleeding. And what happened is evidently she didn't use enough protection, because whatever that client she had, whatever transferred from that person to her. Now, aren't you guys scared that could happen to Madame Della?
You go ahead and give your and I'll give my perspective.
A lot of times, I'm kind of her protector, over here, when she does readings and stuff like that, I kind of make sure everybody's vetted as much as possible, So, and I kind of hang around because I'll listen, If some guy's in there and he's getting a little rambunctious or whatever, I step in. I don't let it get crazy.
But that's for the physical tools that could be used,
right.
The actual physical tool.
Right. So, and there's been numerous times where I've escorted people out of her shop that came in, and they were just downright nuts. Or possessed. We go back to that again, where I escorted them out of the shop because it was like, you're not seeing Madam, because I had no clue what they were up to.
But I always do.
Right.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
But, Gary, I think what you meant, on the side of the medium who was on your show with the scratches, the safety of working in this field with the metaphysical repercussions that a person could lay upon you. Is that what you meant?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So for me, I'm almost 50 now, but I can tell you I have never had those incidents ever, not once. Never have I been scratched, never have I been any type of attack or anything like that. And I chalk that up to having, I wish I could meet you in person, because what I have is not typical. It's just not the normal, stuff. And I find a lot that the people that I deal with, client-wise, I have over 4,000 clients worldwide. But since I was a little kid, I had an experience with an entity when I was a really, really small little girl. And that entity told me, and I'll never forget it, I actually wrote about it in one of my books, that I would never be harmed. And the thing about it is I believe that this entity is like a guard dog, like a guardian. And it literally, I could tell you thousands and thousands of stories where people have interacted with me and they wind up, if they do one thing, and I don't mean for this to happen, but I don't want this to happen to people. But if someone tries to come at me with something, these people are disemboweled. In all types of cases, accidents,
that's crazy.
Stabbings. You would not believe the things that happen to the people who are bad that come to see me that have other, agendas, if you will. But the thing is, I don't want to project that, but I believe that something else is very protective of me.
Interesting.
That's the end of, like for poor JB over here.
Well, my ex-wife, my first one, I've been married now for 42 years on this one. But my first wife, she explained to me, too, which she didn't like casting spells on people because she said if you cast a spell on somebody, it can come back on you like twofold. Is that true?
Well, the thing is, for me, it's always threefold, Lal. But I can tell you one thing. To cast a spell is you're casting an intention. You're casting an intention right away. As soon as you do that, and I get a lot of clients who contact me and they want me to cast a spell for love, or I don't cast spells. I don't cast spells ever. But I will do a spell consult, but it always winds up with the answer is I can't cast a spell, or I won't cast a spell for you, because what it is it's an intention. And your intention, an intention for me is like an arrow, a bow and an arrow. So it becomes a targeted directive towards whatever it is going to be. But, it's karma. Everything in the waking physical world that we live in is karmatic based. So I was taught this from a child, that there are absolutely no victims in the world, because it is all karmatic and it is all a flesh lesson that is returned to you. So people can't understand that. And sometimes when I speak about that with lectures, people just can't understand it. But I do understand it. I understand it, and this is why it's very, very important to project positivity 24/7, especially a person like me, and you have to stay positive, because the moment that you don't, it becomes that arrow that is a boomerang at that point, and it comes back.
Yeah.
And it will come.
Now,
Yeah.
JB, you guys started making horror movies. What type of horror movies do you guys make?
Wow.
We make we do POV, we do cinematography. We also do documentaries, TV shows. You name it, we do it. We try to stay a little bit of blood in our horror movies. We try to stay on the scary side more than anything.
Well, what's some of the themes of some of the movies you made on the scary side?
Oh, my.
That would be Realms, Hunt for the Shadow Man.
Well, can you tell us a little? Can you tell us a little bit about the Hunt of the Shadow Man? Just a little bit.
Hunt for the Shadow Man. That's Realms.
Was that in the mansion? Oh, that's a scary one,
Yeah,
Gary. That one has some really dark energy in it.
Yeah, we did that in a lot of different haunted locations, and we actually had one of our actors who never did paranormal stuff in his life, and at 3 a.m. in the morning, he came running out of the room in this abandoned mansion and said, "Okay, well, who's in that back room with me?" And we go, "Nobody. The crew's right here." He left. He left 3 o'clock in the morning.
That was the end of his acting?
It was the end of his acting. He hasn't acted since.
He actually refused to ever come back and
he never,
finish his role.
Never finished his role. We had to hire somebody else to come in and finish that role.
Did he describe what was in that back room or anything to you guys?
Dark shadow, because they were all dressed as shadow men. So we had the crew, the cameraman, and stuff like that in the one room up in front of the mansion, and we were talking about the next scene. And we left him all the way in the back of the mansion and told him to stay there because we're only going to be a minute or two, and then he can do his scene. And he came running up through the dark hallway. Now, they have on, the morph suits, the black morph suits.
Uh-huh.
So he comes running up, he unzips it, pulls his hood down. He says, "JB, who's in the back with me?" They rubbed against me, and we were standing in the corner, and they didn't move after that. And I looked around. I had my flashlight, and I'm looking around, and I go, "Well, everybody's here." He goes, "What?" And I said, "I told you might have some paranormal stuff go on. This is a haunted location, a known haunted location." And he said, "I'm out of here." And he left. He just took off.
Oh, wow.
Gone. We went back to look, and of course the entity was gone already. But we were like, okay, so the other people that were there were okay with it because some of them were into the paranormal anyway, or we're okay with just being in that location.
Sometimes they're just oblivious.
Right.
They block it out.
And, he was a nice guy, but we haven't heard from him since.
Yeah, we have not.
Have you ever, when you were filming, like a horror movie, for example, and all of a sudden you're sitting there back reviewing what you just filmed, okay? And you're looking on the screen, and all of a sudden you see something in there that wasn't there when you were filming it. Has that happened to you guys?
That has happened.
We have so much under
We
our
have
belt.
we've got probably 2 or 3 incidents where we stopped and we had to send it to the producer and ask him what he saw, and he come back and say he saw the same thing.
Interesting.
Well,
what type of things did you see? Do you remember offhand?
Well, one of our actors, and we have a picture of it. We were filming Witch Road.
You were filming Witch Road.
Witch Road,
yeah.
And it was deep in the woods, and one of our actors was dressed up in a black cloak to look like the witch from a distance.
We also built an occult circle.
And we built an occult circle in the middle of the woods, and with flames around it and things like that. And some of the actors wanted to get a picture with her because she looked really good. And some of the actors on set said, "Can we get a picture with her?" And we said, yeah. So they took a picture. And Gary, if you saw this picture and then saw her in person, you would go,
"That's not her.
That is not her."
No, that's not her. No.
She morphed into something from those woods.
She did. I just got chills down my whole entire body because it definitely I mean, I know this woman really well.
She's part of our team, and her name is Debbie, and she's
Yeah.
that was not
That
her.
was not her.
To this day, she goes, "That's not me, JB."
No.
I'm like, "I know it's not." So what was going on in those woods while she was in the woods by herself?
Yeah.
I wonder if there was ever a crime scene there. Somebody got murdered. One of my hosts on Saturday night, James Chrisbaum. Well, one time when he was about 20 years ago, he went out in the woods and he ran into one of the where they were sacrificing, and he was lucky. I told him, I said, "You are actually lucky you got out of there alive."
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, where we filmed part of the movie was actually like the end of Pickett's charge for the Civil War. So we don't know what took place in those woods back then because we weren't back then. So we don't know, and we don't know what took place up until we filmed the movie because, there was a dirt road leading back there. It used to be an old campsite, old campground, and everything's gone now. It's just nothing but woods and grown over, and it's like 80 acres, Gary. It's massive, and it's a great place to shoot a movie, and so many things probably happened back there we couldn't even begin to tell you.
Oh, wow. Have you ever gotten the situation where you're making a movie and you go, I don't know if I want to keep doing it, or has it driven you to want to keep producing more movies and more in the paranormal and scary stuff?
Oh, we're working on some new stuff coming up here too, and it's going to be pretty cool.
However, there were several movies that we had to question our sanity on continuing those because one of the ones that we started to shoot was shot in my own personal home, which is 21 rooms and 6,000 square foot, and there was something that happened here. I can't go fully into it because it was the people who were here before us, but there was a tragedy that happened, and we started to film in a lot of really strange, our world is strange, don't get me wrong. Our world is 100% odd. But as we started to film, the activity that's normally in our house became a little more
magnified,
prevalent, and we decided to cut and put that one in storage for a while and not go back to it.
Now, how many movies have you... Now, you're making horror movies, you're making documentaries. It's a big difference between, making a paranormal and going into making a horror movie. How can you... is it hard to go between the two?
No, because a lot of the horror movies are based on paranormal. We'll throw maybe a serial killer in a horror movie, but it's paranormal too, as to why he's a serial killer. He's a demon. So it's kind of like it plays hand in hand.
It's fluid. I think it's pretty fluid. But, it's fluid.
Yep.
Now, do you guys write your own scripts, or do you have somebody write your scripts for these movies, or?
Madam Della is the master.
I am.
Yep.
I am the master. That's why they call me the master psychic and witch.
Yep.
I do all of it.
She writes everything, and we have a crew of directors. I'm a director and producer, and another director and producer, and cameraman, and production assistants. We have it all.
And how long does it normally take you to, make a movie? Now, I've had people on it. They make a movie. They crank out a movie like once every 2 weeks, and I have some. It takes months to, make one.
For my answer for that, I think it depends on how much I'm vested into that movie. Like I could write a movie, and if I sit down, I can let it flow for 12 hours and get the whole entire movie written, everything. And then other times it takes me longer because I think I actually try to avoid certain aspects of my own history. Because a lot of times these movies have aspects, energies that are woven in that have actually happened to us, so we put those in. So we've done movies in a weekend, and then we've done 2-3 years for a movie. So it's just how much you invest in. You want to invest in there.
When we shot Witch Road, some of the actors came to me, and they said, "JB, you're hardcore," and I'm like, you know why? Because here's here's what I want. I want you guys to feel that exhaustion. I want you guys to feel everything that's going to be happening to you in real life if this witch was really chasing you through these woods.
Or the devil.
So 12 hours later, they're exhausted, and it looks